Accurate, reliable, to the point. This is News Center 5 at noon.
Osteoporosis is a debilitating disease. Those who have it have fragile bones that can easily break. But the good news is it is a disease that can be prevented and treated. Joining us now with more is Dr. Warren Levy of Unigene Labs. Good afternoon, Dr. Levy.
Hi, Amy.
It's good to talk with you about this. I think when we hear about osteoporosis, we often kind of associate it with the elderly, but I understand that bone loss actually starts much earlier in life.
That's correct. In the 80% of sufferers, the female population, bone loss starts right at menopause, which the average age is about 51.5 years old today. And a woman can lose 30% of her skeleton in the first 3 years after menopause. So early intervention is key in terms of trying to prevent the disease.
So how early are we talking? When should we begin really thinking about bones?
Right around menopause is when women should take seriously their bone health.
Okay. And what can we and should we be doing?
Well, the first thing is you'd want to get a family history. Make sure, go to your physician and see if there's a history of osteoporosis in your family. You're going to want to get a bone scan. This is something that you typically would get at menopause and every 6 months thereafter. And if it's determined that you are losing bone, there are various things that you can do. You need to take adequate amounts of calcium and vitamin D. That can be dairy products, dark green leafy vegetables, etc. You need to do weight-bearing exercise and avoid certain things like excessive alcohol consumption, caffeine consumption, and smoking.
Okay, and there are supplements, right?
Yes, calcium supplements are useful. As it turns out, calcium is better for the body if it's taken with regular food. It's absorbed better.
Okay, and if you are diagnosed with osteoporosis, I understand there are certain treatments, right?
Yes, there are various treatments that are available. Some are safer than others. Some have been around longer than others. There's one family of drugs based on the natural ingredient calcitonin, which has a very good safety profile. And a new calcitonin drug is available as of last year, a product called Fortical, which we think is a useful alternative in the treatment of osteoporosis.
Okay, and I understand too there are also like bone density scans that you can have done to kind of have your body checked, right?
Correct. Once a woman hits menopause, she should get a baseline bone density scan, and pretty much every 6 months thereafter in order to determine whether she's actively losing bone or not.
Okay. Dr. Levy, any other advice for people out there?
Well, basically you want to be mindful of health. Bone health is key in order to maintain an active lifestyle. And these days, a woman at 50 years old hopefully has many decades in front of her. So quality of life is very important.
Certainly. All right. Where can our viewers go for more information?
The National Osteoporosis Foundation would be one website, and then websites include Unigene.com and Fortical.com to learn about Fortical itself.
All right. Dr. Levy, some great information. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
You're watching KHON2, Hawaii's Morning News with Kirk Matthews and Tanya Joaquin. Hawaii's #1 morning news.
According to the National Osteoporosis Foundation, osteoporosis is a major public health threat for an estimated 44 million Americans, or 55% of the people 50 years of age and older.
Joining us now to discuss osteoporosis and osteopenia is Dr. Warren Levy of Unigene Labs. Good morning. Aloha, Dr. Levy.
Aloha.
Now, traditionally, osteoporosis is considered a disease of the elderly, but in fact, bone loss starts early in life through a condition called, and this is the first time we've heard of it, osteopenia. Can you explain why?
Yes, the process of bone loss begins before osteoporosis is actually established. The early stage of bone loss is called osteopenia. Once you lose a certain amount of bone loss, you're considered to have osteoporosis, but it's actually the same disease. One is an earlier stage of the other.
What can you do to prevent further bone loss at that point then?
Well, what you want to do if you are at risk, if you're at menopause at 51.5 years old, you run the risk of losing as much as 30% of your bone mass in the first 3 years after menopause. The first thing you want to do is you want to determine whether you have a family history of osteoporosis and speak with the doctor about getting a bone scan. If it's determined that you are losing bone mass, there are various things that one can do. You would certainly want to consider having adequate calcium and vitamin D in your diet through dairy products, dark green leafy vegetables. You'd want to consider weight-bearing exercise. You'd also want to avoid certain of the risk factors associated with osteoporosis. They include smoking, excessive alcohol, and excessive caffeine consumption.
For whatever reason, we've sort of stereotyped this as a woman's disease. Is that necessarily the case?
Well, 80% of sufferers are women, but basically if you live long enough, you will develop osteoporosis, whether you're a man or a woman.
Where can people find out more about osteoporosis and prevention?
Well, you can go to the National Osteoporosis Foundation website. There are other drugs that are available. There are some that are actually very excellent alternatives with good safety profiles over many years, and those might include a new product, for example, called Fortical. That you can learn more about at the website Unigene.com or Fortical.com.
All right, Dr. Warren Levy, thanks so much for spending some time with us this morning.
Thank you.